Hello students, welcome back to our video sessions on Class 8 Biology. We are now going to study the 7th chapter, Nervous System in Humans. We have already learnt about different organ systems of the human body and the various functions performed by each of these organs. All the organs in our body depend on each other to perform a function. For example, when we have food, our nose smells the food, our eyes help to locate the food, and our hands help to bring the food to our mouth. In the mouth, the muscles of the jaw and the teeth help in grinding the food, which is called mastication, and the saliva lubricates the food and helps in the process of digestion. So all these activities occur in a coordinated manner and each organ is dependent on the other organ. So how is this coordination brought about? The whole process of digestion, the example that we have seen, how is this coordination happening in the body? It is because of an integrated system called the nervous system. The nervous system helps in bringing about coordination and integration of different body activities. So what is the nervous system actually? It is a complex network of nerves. These nerves carry messages to the brain and from the brain and the spinal cord to various parts of the body. So the nerves carry messages to and from the brain and spinal cord to various parts of the body. The body even responds to some signals outside the world, and this is also helped by the nervous system. So now let us understand the parts of the nervous system. The nervous system is made up of the brain, spinal cord, and nerves. In this chapter, we will be learning about the nervous system in human beings in detail. So let us look into what is the nerve cell. Nerve cell is otherwise called neuron. It is the basic structural and functional unit of the nervous system. It is the longest cell in the body. Messages are received and transmitted to all parts of the body through these nerves or the neurons. The human brain is estimated to have about 100 billion neurons. And this is the only cell which cannot divide. So let us understand now the structure of a neuron. The neuron has three parts: the cell body, axon, and dendrites. The cell body is also called cyton. It contains the nucleus. There are short fibers arising from the cell body or the cyton. These short fibers are called dendrons. They further divide into dendrites. Dendrites receive messages from other neurons. One single long fiber extends from the other side of the cell body. This extended fiber is called the axon. Axon is covered by a sheath, and this sheath is called the myelin sheath. Axon is the most important part of the neuron because it carries messages from the cell body to another neuron, from the cell body of one neuron to another neuron. So the message travels along the nerve cells in the form of chemical disturbance, and this is called an impulse. Impulse is an electrical signal. So messages transferred through the neurons are electrical signals, and these electrical signals are called impulse. So how does the message pass from one neuron to another neuron? Neurons do not come in direct contact with each other. They just communicate with each other via a junction. And that junction where axon terminal of one neuron is close to the dendrites of another neuron, that junction is called a synapse. At the synapse, communication between the two neurons is taking place. So please understand, there is a junction where the axon terminal of one neuron meets the dendrites of another neuron. This junction is called the synapse. So now you know what is a neuron or a nerve cell. And I told you that the nervous system is made up of nerves. What are these nerves now? Neurons are joined end to end forming a nerve. Nerve consists of a cord-like structure with a number of nerve fibers bundled together. It is like the strands of a telephone cable. So nerves are many neurons joined together. There are different types of these nerves. Depending upon the direction in which they transmit the impulse, they are classified into three types. Number one is the sensory nerves. These nerves carry messages or impulses from the sense organs to the spinal cord or from sense organs to the brain. So they contain only sensory fibers. For example, messages travel from the eye to the brain. When we see something, messages travel from the eye to the brain. So the nerve carrying message from eye to brain is the optic nerve. And the optic nerve is a sensory nerve because it is carrying message from the sense organ to the brain. Number two, motor nerves. These nerves carry message in the form of impulses from the brain or spinal cord to the other parts of the body such as muscles and glands. So please remember once again, messages are carried from brain or spinal cord to other parts of the body. And these nerves which do this work are called motor nerves. Motor nerves contain only motor fibers. Example, nerves carrying messages to the muscles of the eyeball are called motor nerves. So there are nerves arising from the brain and they carry messages to the muscles of the eyeball. So these are motor nerves. And finally, there are mixed nerves. These nerves perform the function of both sensory nerves as well as motor nerves. They transmit electrical impulses from central nervous system to the muscles of the body. They contain both sensory and motor fibers. For example, nerve that transmits message to the tongue is a mixed nerve. So the nerve transmitting message to the tongue is having sensory nerves as well as motor nerves, motor function, and that is why it is called a mixed nerve. There is one more classification of the types of nerves, and this is based on the place from where they arrive. Based on the place from where they arise, nerves are of two types. There are cranial nerves and spinal nerves. What are cranial nerves? The nerves that arise from the brain and reach organs in the head region. These are the cranial nerves. There are 12 pairs of cranial nerves in the body. What are spinal nerves? These nerves arise from the spinal cord and reach various parts of the body. There are 31 pairs of spinal nerves. So now I think you are well aware of what is a neuron and what is a nerve. Neuron is a single nerve cell which is the basic structural and functional unit of the nervous system. Nerve is many neurons together. Let us talk something more about motor neurons. Motor neurons are located in the central nervous system. Motor neuron is a nerve cell in which the cell body is located in the spinal cord. The axon is projected outside the spinal cord and it is to control effector organs like the muscles. Muscles are called effector organs. Motor neurons carry messages from the spinal cord to the effector organ to bring about the effect. Now please listen carefully. One motor neuron may connect many muscle fibers because it is multipolar. What do you mean by the term multipolar? Each nerve cell has a single axon and many dendrites. Because of this presence of many dendrites, it is able to connect to many muscle fibers. This is called multipolar nature. So, motor neuron is multipolar. Now we know that the nervous system consists of the nerves, brain, and spinal cord. We have studied about the nerves. Next, we have to study about the brain and the spinal cord. But before that, we will first see how nervous system in humans is categorized. It is categorized into the central nervous system, peripheral nervous system, and the autonomic nervous system. In this chapter, we will be studying only about the central nervous system. The central nervous system consists of the brain and the spinal cord. It is the control center for all body functions. It is the site for information processing. Every sensation and thought that a human being expresses is processed by the central nervous system. So let us study further about the brain. The brain is the main control center of the central nervous system. The human brain is a highly developed organ and it is situated in the cranium of the skull. On an average, an adult brain weighs about 1200 grams to 1400 grams and it is about 2% of the body weight. It controls feelings, movement, and senses. It also controls your thinking. The brain is enveloped by three membranes. It is covered by three membranes called the meninges. The membranes have a fluid and that fluid is called cerebrospinal fluid. The fluid flows between the membranes. This fluid nourishes the brain and it protects the brain from shocks. So it is helping as a shock absorber. The brain is divided into three regions: cerebrum, cerebellum, and the medulla oblongata. Cerebrum is the uppermost, largest, and the most prominent part of the brain. It fills most of the skull. It is highly convoluted. Convoluted means it is having ridges and grooves. This is to increase the surface area of the brain, and ridges and grooves accommodate more nerve cells. Cerebrum is divided into two hemispheres. There is a right hemisphere and the left cerebral hemisphere. There is a deep furrow which divides the cerebrum into the left and right cerebral hemispheres. The cerebrum is responsible for sensation of pain, temperature, touch, sight, sound, taste, and smell. It also controls mental activities like memory, intelligence, thinking, and reasoning. The cerebellum is a small lobe located at the base of the cerebrum. It does not have convolutions, but it has many furrows. It helps in muscle coordination and it also helps in balance of the body. Finally, there is medulla oblongata. It is the lowermost part of the brain and it is located at the base of the skull. It is like a stem of the brain. It emerges out of the base of the brain and it continues as spinal cord in the posterior region. Medulla oblongata is responsible for controlling breathing, heartbeat, coughing, sneezing, and other involuntary functions. The next part of the central nervous system is the spinal cord. The spinal cord is the continuation of the medulla oblongata of the brain. It is like a cord that runs from the hole at the base of the skull and it runs through the vertebral column. Like the brain, the spinal cord also is protected by meninges and these meninges are filled with cerebrospinal fluid within it. If you take a cross section of the spinal cord, it will show two similar halves that are fused together to form a small canal in the center. This canal is called the central canal. The canal also contains cerebrospinal fluid. The central canal is surrounded by a H-shaped area. This H-shaped area is called the gray matter. It consists of the cell bodies of the neurons. The outer portion is the white matter. This consists of nerve fibers. The function of the spinal cord is to conduct reflexes below the neck. Spinal cord serves as the pathway for messages sent by the brain to the body and from the body to the brain. It conducts sensory impulses from skin and muscles to the brain. It conducts motor responses from the brain to the muscles of the trunk and limbs. So, it is a pathway for sending impulses from brain to other parts and from other body parts to brain. Now, let us understand what is a stimulus. Any condition in the environment which causes reaction in an organism is called a stimulus. Plural, we call it stimuli. So, the reaction of the organism to the stimulus is called a response. Stimuli can be either from living things, other living things, or it may also come from non-living factors such as water, heat, change in temperature, dust, chemicals, and so on. So those which come from outside or from the environment, they are called external stimuli. Some stimuli arise within the organism's body. They are called internal stimuli. For example, the sensation of thirst, hunger, pain, these are all internal stimuli. So whether it is external or internal, there is a response in the body towards this stimuli. For example, if there is an internal stimuli like thirst, the body's response will be to go and drink water. For example, if the external stimuli is dust, there is sneezing, and this is the response. Dust is the external stimulus, and sneezing or coughing because of the dust is the body's response. Let us understand what is reflex action. Sometimes the spinal cord controls some actions that do not involve the brain. For example, if you step on a sharp object, you instantly remove your foot. This reaction is automatic and does not involve thinking. You need not think whether to remove your feet or not. This kind of an action is called reflex action. So, the reflex action is an automatic, spontaneous, and mechanical response to a stimulus. It is controlled by spinal cord and it does not involve the brain. The nerve pathway of a reflex action is called the reflex arc. The reflex arc involves three neurons: sensory neurons, association neurons, and motor neurons. Let us see how this happens. First, a stimulus triggers an impulse in a receptor. The receptor could be any sensory organ like the skin or the hand or any structure that receives the stimulus. The impulse then travels from the receptor through a sensory neuron to the spinal cord. In the spinal cord, it passes through an association neuron to a motor neuron and finally reaches the muscles of an effector organ. The muscles of the effector organ contract and remove it away from the stimulus. Some examples of reflex action are sneezing when an unwanted particle enters the nose, blinking of eyes when a foreign particle enters the eye, immediate withdrawal of hand if we unknowingly touch a hot object, withdrawing the leg if we suddenly step on a nail or some thorn, knee-jerk reflex in response to tapping under the knee. All these actions do not involve the brain, that is, we need not think before doing this action. Knee-jerk reflex is the sudden kicking movement that is seen in the lower leg when we tap a portion under the kneecap. So far, we have seen about the central nervous system, which comprises of the brain and the spinal cord. Now we are going to talk about the other nervous system also, peripheral nervous system. It consists of nerves arising from the brain and spinal cord. There are two types of nerves which we have already discussed, that is the cranial nerves and spinal nerves. These nerves link the central nervous system with various parts of the body. Sometimes they are large and visible to the human eye. Then there is autonomic nervous system. This nervous system controls all involuntary actions which include internal body functions. For example, heartbeat, movement of muscles of the stomach, intestines, so on. The medulla controls these vital body functions, and the nervous system which controls this is the autonomic nervous system. To accomplish involuntary tasks, the autonomic nervous system uses two networks. One is the sympathetic nervous system and the other one is parasympathetic nervous system. Now, how do messages reach the brain? The peripheral nervous system transmits messages to and from the sense organs. It is responsible for voluntary actions like cycling, swimming, running, jumping. Incoming messages enter the spinal cord from all parts of the body and they reach the brain. The brain sends back messages to various parts of the body through the spinal cord. Let us now understand the coordination between central nervous system and the sense organs. You already know what are the sense organs. Stimuli such as heat, sound and light are detected by different receptors. Receptors are the cells, special cells which are present in the sense organs. These receptors receive a stimulus from the environment. For example, the stimulus of heat from the environment is received by the sense organ skin. Receptors on the skin, that is the sense organ, receives the stimulus. So, sense organs are responsible for reception of stimulus of sight, sound, smell, taste and touch. Each sense organ is directly connected with the brain. There are 5 sense organs in the human body: the eye, ear, nose, tongue and skin. These sense organs are connected to the brain through different nerves. For example, eye is connected to the brain through the optic nerve. Ear is connected to the brain through the acoustic nerve. There is a Russian scientist called Ivan Pavlov who developed the concept of conditioned reflex. He studied dogs. He studied the secretory activity or the salivation in dogs. For this, he implanted a device in their salivary ducts to record the uninterrupted effect of nervous system on the digestive process. In his experiment, Pavlov played a sound like, for example, ringing a bell just before giving food to the dogs. So he conditioned the dogs and the dogs began salivating every time the bell rang. This condition was developed in dogs such that when the bell rang, dogs started salivating even if there was no food. So this type of a reflex is called conditioned reflex. For this work, Pavlov was given the Nobel Prize for physiology or medicine. So here the brain of the dog is tuned to receive the sound of the bell and think that food is going to arrive. And that is why the dog starts salivating on hearing the bell ringing.